We'll go on to item 9A, General Council Business, presentation of financial results, presentation for the 6 months ending December 31st. And Tom Cook.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I'm here to present the results for the first 6 months of the year, ending December 31st, 2017 for our primary operating funds, which would be the general fund, the police and fire sales tax funds, BAMA, and then also sales tax capital improvements as our primary capital fund. First, the good news. For year-to-date in general fund, our net results of operations are a positive $684,000.
Oh, sorry. My apologies.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think we want you to stop. You need to stop.
I got the hint, Lisa. Our sales tax, though, as you can see on the next section down, is down slightly for the year at $330,000 compared to budget, but our other taxes are up by $944,000. Under expenditures, salaries are under budget by $164,000, and benefits are under by $227,000. And we are currently at 46.89% of our annual budget. And I want to point out in the bottom section that our current fund balance is $7.8 million and our required reserve fund balance is $5.5. So we are 140% of our required amount. The next page, which has a little more detail on revenues and expenditures, I would just point out that even though we are very positive on sales tax and other taxes, that overall our current revenues are flat compared to budget, that 49.59% of the year, but our expenditures are $620,000 less than budgeted. And so unless council had any other questions on the fund.
I have a question, Mayor. This is more for a clarification. Is that you talked about the unencumbered fund balance?
Yes, sir.
Tom. I just want you to clarify something for council, that if the council was to take money out of that unencumbered fund balance and that was for an ongoing expense, that would be something that if they were to say take $500,000 out of there to pay an ongoing expense, we'd lose that money, and then the following year, unless we address that, then basically we'd have to come up with money to pay for that as well. So it wouldn't be something like if we're sitting there with a couple $1 million and we decide to give a salary increase, that's going to be an ongoing expense. We'd have to come up with whatever amount that was if it came out of fund balance.
Yes, sir. We would run a deficit related to that for the current fiscal year, and then without an additional funding source, we would have that same $500,000 next year. So now we're $1 million less, and I mean the math would play out. In 10 years or so, we would essentially eliminate our fund balance.
Thank you.
I noticed, and Tom mentioned that we are under budget with regard to salaries and benefits. Does that reflect some job openings, or does that just reflect some savings?
Jobs.
Exactly, Vice Mayor. I mean, usually when you're under in your salaries, it's a reflection of there being open positions.
Okay.
And part of that too, Vice Mayor, is just the timing. Some of those positions have been filled, but where we would have budgeted perhaps for the position for the full year, it was, if it's September or so, then it would have that 3 months worth of non-expenditure.
So does this budget for the firefighters that we receive the federal funding on?
That's a different fund.
Okay, you'll get to that.
Yes, sir.
We'll address that, okay.
Any other questions on the general fund?
Questions?
Next, we'll look at the police sales tax fund. And you can see the results of the operations year-to-date are a positive 1.1 million. For their personal services, they are currently, for salaries, 89,000 under budget, and benefits are 122,000 under budget. For their other operating expenditures, they are under budget by 262,000. And then page 5 that has the more detail, they point out again their current revenues are $34,000 over budget. Their personnel services combined are $212,000 below budget. Other services and charges, $151,000 below budget. Materials and supplies, $111,000. So their current expenditures are $474,000 below budget. And capital outlay is $337,000 below budget, and that resulted in the 1.1 million under budget. And then the fire sales tax fund, they are currently have net results of operations of $357,000 for the year. They are over budget in benefits, but under budget in their salaries and wages, so that they're currently at 51% of their total budget. And then the next page, Councilman Lester, it shows currently the intergovernmental revenue on that is $120,000. But I can tell you that today there was a drawdown for $600,000 of federal money on the SAFER grant. And so the fire department overall is $309,000 under budget for the year, the net income of $1,065,000, but their capital outlay, currently they have things not ordered yet, so the majority of their savings are $700,000 in capital outlay. Then STCI, just real briefly, we are at $4.6 million in revenue for the year. Our current capital expenditures through the end of December are just under $3 million, and we have a fund balance currently of $7.5 million. The municipal authority, current revenues are $1.6 million below budget, but positively, our current expenditures are 2.7 under budget. So we have a current results of operations of 4.7 million. And you can see under the revenues that most of our charges for service revenues, water, sewer, sanitation, are running about 93 to 95% of our expected amount. But for expenditures, personnel services are 1.1 million under budget, and other operating expenditures are 1.5 million under budget. So the fund is currently at 41% of its annual budget. Again, on the last page, I'd point out that overall in current revenues we're 1.6 million below budget, but our current expenditures for personnel are 1.1 million below budget. Other services and charges are 1.04 below budget. Materials and supplies are 500,000 below budget, and our ending revenues over our expenditures are 4.7 million. Any questions for Bama?
Any questions, council?
Yes, sir.
So overall, you're happy with where we're at right now?
Well, yes. I mean, obviously in the municipal authority, being not to budget with the revenues, and that is such a factor of many things, you know, watering patterns of our customers, the rain, it really comes into play. And then our most recent rate increase, you know, has only been in effect essentially about 8 weeks. And so that will come into play as we go through the rest of the year. I know positively you received an email today that our water usage, our water pumpage in January was up some. So hopefully as we carry on into the springtime, we'll have good water usage and those numbers will come up.
Vice Mayor, just to follow up on your question, Tom explained it very well. From my perspective, we were meeting yesterday looking at the capital improvement program and starting that process earlier. And when you're talking about the utility department, we have our capital projects that are paid for with debt service, which normally is through the Oklahoma Water Resources Board, and then we have what they call, it's a not a technical term, but it's a term that's used standard in the industry of pay-as-you-go capital, which are those projects, whether it's the purchase of a vehicle, a trailer, materials for projects, and so forth. If revenues don't meet projections, then we'll do basically a couple of things. Number one, we'll go back and look at the pay-as-you-go capital to make sure we stay within budget. And secondly, if we have open positions, we'll look and see if we can hold off on filling those open positions for a period of time, because we want to make sure we take into account that the council's direction last year is to start to rebuilding the fund balance in the municipal utility authority. So there's a lot that goes into play, and I am a little concerned about where we are in terms of revenue. And so we started that discussion yesterday about looking at those projects. And if there's anything significant, we were going to let the authority know.
Thank you.
Thank you.